It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, where it's ice cold, and Washington, D.C. And this is CarEdge Live for Wednesday, January 28th, with your hosts, me, Ray, here in Ventnor City, and Zach, well, live in his apartment in Washington, D.C. How are you today, handsome?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy Wednesday, January 28th, everyone. Today's show is brought to you by CarEdge.com. For those of you that are new to the channel, CarEdge Live, we go live Monday through Friday. We talk about all things auto industry, car buying, things like that. And my dad and I, over the past 6 years with our incredible team, have built CarEdge.com. For those of you that are unfamiliar, CarEdge provides a car buying service that takes care of research, dealer outreach, and even negotiation. We learn what matters to you, contact dealers, compare real offers, and help you get the best deal without the stress. I encourage everyone to take a peek back at CarEdge.com and learn more about how we are helping thousands of people every single month. Dad, today on the show, we're going to talk about Toyota and the major problem that they have. Now, this is, to be very clear, a privileged problem. We're going to start here. Kelley Blue Book just yesterday came out with their brand watch. They annually, or twice a year, come out with a list of the brands that are getting the most consideration from consumers. And do you have a guess, Dad, which brands, don't read this, don't read it, all right? Close your eyes. Which brands topped the leaderboard with the most consumer consideration? Keep those eyes closed.
Eyes are closed. I'm trying to use Braille on my computer screen. But if I had to guess.
Yeah, take a guess.
If I had to guess, it would be the two brands with the lowest market day supply. And that would be Toyota and Lexus.
All right, so this is the KBB brand watch. Let's scroll down here. Non-luxury vehicle brands that are getting the most consideration, it's not even close. It's Toyota. They're at 35% of consumers are considering a Toyota. Chevy's at 30%, Ford's at 29%. You can see the list, so on and so forth. No wonder things are so bad at Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. They are way down on the list. So you can see here, Dad, buying away, Toyota has the highest level of brand consideration. You're now probably thinking, Zach, why is that major trouble at Toyota? What could you be possibly saying? Well, first, let's look here at luxury as well, which Lexus leads by not as much of a landslide, but by 3 points over BMW and Cadillac, Mercedes-Benz. Lexus is the most highly considered luxury brand. The trouble is, Dad, in what you just described, which is when we go over to the day's supply of inventory, this is what we're looking at for Toyota and for Lexus. They're right above my dad's head on the screen. Lexus has a 28 days supply of inventory. Toyota has a 33 days supply of inventory. No one else is even close to that. The industry average is a 76 days supply of inventory. Dad, Toyota has a major problem in that they are too successful right now and that their dealers actually don't have enough vehicles, both Toyota and Lexus, to sell to customers. They have a huge problem in that regard.
Well, you know, I do like the way you frame this. And for those of you who are suggesting that today's title might have been a little clickbaity, you know, I would say it's Ned Beatty's cousin, clickbaity. Yeah, they've got a problem in that they are producing about as many cars as they possibly can for North American consumption. And they still can't satiate the appetite of their customers out there. And if you want to say there's trouble, you know, Toyota did drop 2 points in 2025 compared to 2024. But yeah, I mean, they have long had a great reputation for quality products, reasonably priced. And now they're in a position where the demand for their products or the consideration for their products far outstrips the availability of their products. You know, if you are a Toyota or Lexus dealer, you have basically been given the keys to the printing press, and you can print all the money you want because you're making a fortune at those stores.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening, Dad, is these dealerships are able to do all sorts of crazy things because it is a problem that they are the only ones facing right now. You look at these reports, you look at these charts, And it's either the supply is out of whack or the demand is out of whack. Toyota and Lexus have really hit the nail on the head, to the point where, as you're saying, like, it is a printing press over at these dealerships. Let's talk for a moment. You ran dealerships your whole career, but you've never, unless I'm mistaken, you've never run a Toyota or Lexus dealership, correct?
That would be a correct statement.
Maybe the closest you got is you ran an Acura dealership, which is Honda's luxury division. If you only had a 28-day supply or a 33-day supply of inventory, what would you be doing, Dad, running that dealership? And as you're sharing that, I'm pulling up on my end. We talk to Toyota dealers every single day. I want to see if they're adding add-ons and markups and things like that, because the problem that they face is they don't have enough supply to match the demand. The problem for the consumer is you're not going to be able to get a deal because they have too many people lined up to buy their vehicles.
When I was the new car manager at Acura, Scottsdale Acura, and the new TL came out.
Yeah.
And there was a short supply of the new TL for a year and a half. A lot of dealerships would have added additional dealer markup and things like that. What we did is we charged MSRP, not a penny more, not a penny less. So, if I was at a Toyota dealership and basically pretty much everything is pre-sold before it hits the lot, my philosophy would be to sell at MSRP. There are many Toyota dealerships out there that will add additional dealer markup, add a ton of dealer installed accessories in order to figure out ways to make additional profits. I think MSRP is more than fair for most dealerships when you consider that for the vast majority of automotive retail history, nobody ever paid MSRP. It was a suggestion, and it was a suggestion that, well, nobody paid it unless it was like when the Mazda Miata first came out and everybody had to have one and they were overpaying for those, or when the PT Cruiser came out. When there were certain vehicles they came out and people were willing to pay a premium for them. So I think MSRP is more than fair for a dealership to be able to make a sizable profit. And
yeah,
when I say sizable, Toyota's a mass market brand.
Yep.
And most mass market brands, at least prior to the pandemic, the average new car front end gross profit was between $250 and $350. Now, maybe at a Toyota store, it was closer to $500 or $600. But today, those numbers are probably closer to $1,800 to $2,200. Before you take into consideration any money they make in the back end in the finance department. I don't know. I think if I were making $2,000 front end profit per car and I was selling every car I could get my hands on, I would be okay with that.
For sure. Now, it is interesting that I've got a couple examples that I was able to pull up as you were going on there. I will say turbo diesel's got a great point here. Toyota has also gotten way too high on price, just like every other OEM. However, the Toyota distributors have lost their mind in terms of add-ons. This is an area where Toyota is unique, and I would say does have a major problem on their hands, which is the way that Toyota distributes their vehicles in the United States allows for these middlemen, not even the dealers, but these middlemen to add products, add accessories, add add-ons to the MSRP of vehicles, which ultimately has increased the price of Toyotas in the United States significantly. Can you talk a little bit, Dad, about distributors and what that means specifically for Toyota? Because that is a unique dynamic for Toyota here in the United States.
It is. There's two major distributors for Toyota. There's Southeast Toyota, which covers, I believe, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. And then there's another one, Gulf states, which is like Texas and some other states. Not all states are serviced by those two distributors, but those two distributors are indeed middlemen. And they have the opportunity to add additional equipment to the vehicles as port installed items that they can install at their facilities before they ship them off to the dealers who must buy their inventory from those distributors. It is a huge profit center for Gulf states and Southeast Toyota distributors. I would think to a certain degree, it's a little bit of a thorn in the side of Toyota corporate, because I am certain they field a lot of complaints from a lot of customers who want to buy Toyotas that live in those states that are serviced by those distributors. And it is a pretty unique way of distributing their vehicles. And the reason they did it is they didn't have the complete infrastructure for the country when they first came over here. And they didn't necessarily have the funds to develop that infrastructure. So it became easier for them to sign up a couple distributors to help with getting the vehicles from port to dealers.
Absolutely. And now here's what that actually looks like in practice. I'll share it on the screen because this is a major problem over at Toyota. You don't have enough supply, you have too much demand, and then you have middlemen in between that can do this. So this is a TSRP printout from Toyota, and this is what you see happen time and time again. So the vehicle had a base MSRP from Toyota, then it went to a middleman, a distributor, and then it got the factory installed packages and accessories. Okay, actually, excuse me, that comes from the factory. Then it has the distributor installed packages and accessories for an additional $1,167. So you have a vehicle here that the base MSRP was moderately affordable, and then both the corporate greed at the Toyota level and at the distributor level, adding, what is that, Dad? $6,400 in cost here. That's adding, what would that be, like a 20% increase? Almost a 20% increase in the price of this vehicle. And again, this is a uniquely Toyota experience, what you're seeing here on a camera.
And then, Zach, if I may, you haven't gotten to the point where now the vehicle is at the dealership, and then there's dealer installed accessories that they're going to insist upon above and beyond the factory installed packages and the distributor installed packages and accessories.
And here's what that looks like. You know, here's an example of a new 2025 Toyota Tundra Platinum. Crazy to think that Toyota makes a $71,000 pickup truck, but you know, there you go. There's your $600 window tint. Or another example here on a RAV4 with your gap costing $1,000 and your silent security costing $400. So you're right, Dad. For Toyota in particular, there are more hands involved. And we saw this during the pandemic for all automakers in the sense that when supply was out of whack with demand, AKA there were not enough cars to go around, there were some really bad offenders. Like Kia dealers, for example, became notorious for doing all sorts of crazy add-ons and things like that. Toyota and Lexus are the only two brands that, now that we're in a post-pandemic world, still maintain so much pricing power, and they have this added aspect, which is they have the distributor layer too. Here's another example of that, if I may. Here's what was this, a Toyota Crown. And why is there $2,204 in distributor installed packages and accessories? Because the distributor makes money when that happens.
Yes. I mean, it is all about maximizing profits, whether you are the manufacturer, whether you are the distributor on behalf of that manufacturer, or whether you are the dealership who is ultimately selling at a retail level those products from that manufacturer and distributor. So every one of these entities looks at ways to maximize their profits. Now, who does that impact? It impacts us, the customers. We end up paying more than what we might have necessarily wanted to pay. We end up with more accessories and add-ons than we might have necessarily wanted. And so we end up with bigger monthly payments that become less and less affordable because everyone is trying to maximize their profits. And don't get me wrong, I understand when you go into business, the idea of going into business is to make money, is to figure out ways to maximize your profits. But in doing that, it shouldn't also mean that people can no longer afford to buy your product.
Yeah, I completely agree. I actually, Dad, I have some empathy right now for Toyota and Lexus dealers because many customers who want to buy their vehicles simply can't, and they end up running into dealers who are playing these types of games, adding all sorts of accessories. We have people constantly come to CarEdge, and to be clear here, we can help folks get an at MSRP Lexus GX deal. But the amount of people that come to us, and it's like, no, the other option they saw was we had to spend $5,000 over. Toyota and Lexus dealers, again, are unique in this dynamic right now.
Yeah.
This was kind of normal 3, 4, 5 years ago when no dealers had inventory. We saw crazy markups and adjustments and addendums and things like that. But now it's a uniquely Toyota and Lexus thing. And I feel kind of bad for the dealers because ideally they should have more inventory. They don't want a 28 days supply of inventory. It's hard to run your business when you don't have enough inventory.
You do and you don't. And
Yeah.
the you do and you don't is this. If 90% of your inventory is pre-sold before it ever hits the dealership, that is a wonderful position to be in because suddenly your floor plan assistance from the manufacturer becomes a profit center.
Yeah, we saw
as
that
opposed
all.
to as an expense.
Yep.
So the other issue for me is that many of the manufacturers during the time when there was a chip shortage and there was a shortage of automobiles and people just for whatever reason couldn't help themselves and had to have a new vehicle and were willing to pay well beyond the manufacturer's suggested retail price. That kind of opened the floodgates for the manufacturers to say, well, if the dealers can get an extra $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 over MSRP for our vehicles, then why aren't we producing more expensive vehicles that are a higher profit margin vehicle for us? And as opposed to just allowing the dealer to make all that extra money,
Yep.
we can improve our bottom line. And
It is
that
interesting,
what
however.
part of the problem is.
It is interesting, however, though, Dad, because Toyota did just tease a new vehicle release. I don't know if you saw this. It's this image that's got the internet kind of going in a tizzy. So it's obviously, a lot of shadows, some taillights. I know. But the speculation here, Dad, is that this is going to be a Ford Maverick competitor, which is interesting because that would go against your rationale that you were just describing, which is because they have such low supply and high demand, they're going to make more expensive vehicles, higher profit margin vehicles, which is what we've traditionally seen. I showed you an example of a Tundra there that was $71,000. That's crazy, but it does seem like the automotive industry, including Toyota here, are listening to customers who want more affordable options, and they are teasing at least. They are teasing.
Okay, so that tease, what do you think the more affordable option would be in a pickup truck if it is going to fight the Maverick? What's it going to be? $45,000?
It'll be between 30 and 40. Yeah.
35 to 45, 35 to 50.
Yeah.
And the point is that even if they build this vehicle, they will not build it in enough quantity to where the dealers who have them and the people who want to buy them would not be willing to pay more with an additional dealer markup. So, yeah, I get it. Yeah, they're willing to step in and produce perhaps a new vehicle, but they're in a position where they can't produce enough vehicles as it is. So if they produce this new vehicle and it's a winner and people want it and it's in short supply, what is the one thing we know American buyers will do? They will pay more for the privilege of saying, I bought one. It's great. It's just you're just adding more paper to that money printing press at the Toyota dealership.
You're a cynic on this one, man. I think it's actually a great sign that there will be more affordable options because, again, that's where the demand is migrating. You and I have obviously slightly different takes on this. Now, one other thing on Toyota, and then we're going to switch gears a little bit. Toyota does actually have a legitimate problem. They actually just had a recall for 160,000 vehicles. So I don't know if you saw this, Dad, but there continue to be challenges. If I'm not mistaken, this has to do with their pickup trucks. Yeah, you've got it right here. Toyota Tundra and Tundra hybrids, 160,000 pickup trucks from 24-25. Now, this is rear view camera displays are the issue, so it's not a mechanical issue like we've seen in the past. But that is one other Toyota news story I wanted to bring up this morning, which is some of their more recently produced vehicles. And we saw this happen to Toyota a lot over the past 2 years, whether it be internal scandals, whether it be quality control issues, or obviously they had some pretty major and material manufacturing recalls. they've had some troubles when it comes to their newer produced pickup trucks.
I think when you produce the number of vehicles that you produce, when you are running factories at 80, 85, 90% of capacity, then I think the opportunity is there because you are building so many more cars so swiftly that the opportunity exists that there could end up being more issues. One of the reasons that you would have more recalls in some cases than others is the fact that you're producing so many more vehicles than everybody else. The percentage of Toyota vehicles that are recalled in comparison to the amount that are built is, say, minuscule in comparison to a company like Ford that had 148 recalls last year that impacted millions upon millions upon millions of vehicles. So, and Ford, at this point doesn't produce at the same volume levels as Toyota does. But you're going to have some issues. Their issues, they have had some major ones with major engine problems, but they seem to have addressed it, at least to the point where customers are still feeling comfortable enough to rush into their local Toyota and Lexus dealerships and buy up every vehicle that they build.
Yeah, you're spot on. Again, friendly reminder, folks, today's show is brought to you by CarEdge.com. A few of the things that we reviewed earlier today, we were looking at some of these out-the-door price quotes where you can obviously, again, see what dealers are adding on, distributors are adding on. That's an example of the distributor. We had this one here where the dealer was adding on information. These are examples from folks that have used CarEdge.com. They've used CarEdge Pro. Just click on CarEdge Pro right there. And we will get out-the-door pricing for you anonymously, or you can use our car buying service. So please take a peek back at CarEdge.com, especially those of you who are used car shoppers. We're about to get in full swing here for used car shopping in the spring selling season. Please use CarEdge.com. And obviously, we want to hear your feedback, make sure you had a good experience. Now, the other story I wanted to bring up, I actually wanted to bring this up yesterday, but we've got time today. Car Dealership Guide published this. V8 engines are making a comeback amid changes to federal policy. And the interesting byline here, Dad, the Detroit Big Three are fueling the resurgence of V8s alongside some of the automakers' best profit makers. So we are seeing auto manufacturers swing on this pendulum. They went all the way in one direction, which was electric vehicles, which were expensive for them, brand new, hard to produce, didn't make them a lot of money. Now we're swinging all the way back, and we're seeing V8s come back. I bet you we see the, even diesel engines, things like that. This is a big oscillation back in the other direction, which many consumers are really, you can see it right here. Bring back the V8s, baby. I wish I had a V8. So there is a lot of consumer interest here, and it makes them a lot of money.
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is also reflective to a certain degree of the Trump administration policy of cutting back CAFE standards and suggesting to manufacturers that you can start utilizing older technologies, which would allow them to get off of these 4-cylinder turbos or 6 cylinders and go back to producing V8s.
Yep.
Now, I will say this. Yes, people want V8s. I don't believe in my heart of hearts that V8s are the ultimate future for the automobile industry. I think we can all agree that it will continue to be movement to alternative fuel type vehicles, whether they be battery electric or whatever. But I don't think the long-term projection would be for V8s, moving into 2040. I just think at a certain point, reality is going to set in, and people will grow accustomed to 6 cylinders again, maybe not 4-cylinder turbos.
I don't know, Dad. I think as each administration comes through the White House, things can change materially. And I think a lot of these companies are going to lean into what makes them the most money. And obviously, these more tried and tested components that there is demand for, I don't see why they would back away from that. So we'll see what happens. But I do think every 4 years, there's the possibility for this thing to go on the pendulum back and forth and back and forth. I do want to remind everyone, We do have a car search back on CarEdge.com. So I clicked on Shop New. And if you scroll down over here on the left under Engine and Drivetrain, not only can you look at EVs, gas, and hybrid vehicles, you can also scroll all the way down to all the different engine types. So if you're doing your car search and you want to look at, currently I have no filters selected, so that's why I have so many different engine types. You can see all the various different types of V8. You want a 5.7 liter V8? Drum roll, please. Here are your options. So please, if you're not using these filters back on the CarEdge car search, there's so much good information there, and obviously can help you narrow down your car search to find the vehicle, whether it's a V8, V12, V10, doesn't really matter, V6. It'll have that information right there for you. But I found it interesting, Dad. I think this is a sign of the times that every 4 years we're going to see this swing back and forth. And for now, actually, I do think this should ultimately drive down prices for people. These are going to be more affordable options than EV powertrain vehicles that they were losing money on.
One would hope, and that is one of the drawbacks of our system in this country, is that every 4 years things could change. And so it is hard for manufacturers to do long-term planning when at best you might get 8 years of one administration in a row.
Yeah.
That's at best. And at worst, you could be changing administrations every 4 years. So rules and regulations governing what it is that you produce can be impacted either negatively or positively every 4 years. So how do you do long-term planning based on that? I'm not sure, but that's just me.
Yeah. All right. We're going to do one final thing on today's show, which will be, folks, our recall check-in. Last time we looked, Ford was leading so far in 20.
Didn't they only have 3?
They only had 3. So here's the big
those
update.
laggards.
They're up to 5.
Okay. Wow.
Bluebird Body Company, Forest River, Keystone, Rivian with 2, Volkswagen with 2, some RV companies. So really, Ford off to a strong start here with their 5 recalls so far in 2026.
And the other thing that I would say looking at this is, well, just stay away from them damn RVs.
Lots of recalls on the RVs. That is nuts to see. Recalls everywhere on the RVs. Yeah. Hey, I want to remind everyone, Space is reminding you as well, community.caredge.com. We have a community forum. Ask your questions over there. Friday is going to be Q&A day here on the show. But yeah, Dad, that's all I had for today. I'm going to be doing this show live tomorrow from New York, so I got to take the train up this afternoon to go there. Obviously, going to try and I've got like my heavy winter coat over here. Going to try and stay warm as best I can. And you do the same, Pops. I think you're going to get more snow this upcoming weekend, is what I just read. So
there is the distinct possibility that we could have a major impact snowstorm Sunday, which obviously I'm not looking forward to. But yes, please take your good heavy winter coat. It is certainly not going to be spring-like weather when you're in New York. So dress accordingly.
Ray needs to hit the slopes. I don't know. I don't think that would end well.
It depends. If you want me around, Ray does not need to hit the slopes. If you want me gone, then Ray needs to hit the slopes, because that would be just a killer concept.
We want you around. All right, folks, we're back tomorrow for more Car Edge Live. See you at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Pops, enjoy the afternoon.
You have safe travels to New York, and please say hello to all my friends in the big city for me.